have so many leaders in this room, and I want to recognize you. The list is so long, and literally every single person would be on it. Thank you for the pastors, the founders, presidents, CEOs, business leaders, law enforcement leaders, former government officials, and more that are here today. We deeply appreciate your leadership and your commitment. We also want to thank some of our sponsors for making this space and this day possible and for their boldness to lead the way. At the leader category, we thank Amazon. At the patron category, we thank Walmart, Airbnb, Chobani, the Business Roundtable, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and Cummins. At the promoter level, we thank Western Union Financial Services, the Association of Equipment Manufacturers, DoorDash, Cisco Systems, Idaho Dairymen's Association, Greenberg Traurig, Chipotle, and the Merrick family of companies. Let's give them and our leaders a round of applause. So, deep breath time. Somehow it both goes without saying and also is very important to say aloud that this is a difficult time for all of us who believe in welcoming immigrants to the United States through a humane, orderly, and secure system. We know that when immigrants can contribute legally, our communities are safer, more prosperous, and our economy is stronger. But we've heard a lot of negative rhetoric and harmful policies proposed aimed at the immigrant community. Some among us here are immigrants, and all of us have immigrant family members, friends, neighbors, co-workers, classmates, or congregants. And now many of us sense a giant mountain that lies before us. So let's go back to the 6 principles the forum released in March. These principles will continue to guide us through the undoubted challenges that lie ahead. You know, we started with the need for compassion and justice for longtime residents like those with DACA and Dreamers, allowing them to have the opportunity to earn lawful status and citizenship. We push for the United States to continue to be a welcoming and compassionate nation that offers refuge and assistance to the persecuted. And this actually leads me to a really great success we had this year, and so we should celebrate it. The U.S. resettled more refugees than we have since 1994. Can we at least applaud that? The third principle is about honoring human dignity of all people through our words and our actions. We reinforced this principle with polling that we did in August. It showed that a strong majority of Americans would prefer a candidate who offers solutions over ones who engage in dehumanizing rhetoric about immigrants, and you'll hear from some of those great leaders today. Fourth, we will continue to fight for reforms that need to address the safety and security at the border and in our communities, including the need to focus immigration enforcement on threats to public safety and national security. Fifth, we are not giving up the fight for fair and orderly legal immigration that continues to solidify our global economic leadership. And last but not least, we will not blink as we defend the long-standing constitutional principle of birthright citizenship. These are the principles that we come back to, that ground us, that set us up for the road ahead. They are meant to remind our leaders of the future that Americans are looking for, the type of policies that for so long, no matter who they voted for, the strong majority of Americans say they support. So we know that this road will be difficult. We also know that the successes we will have is because of you, literally you, the people in this room who represent all of the conversations and communities in communities that are difficult, but are calling or having constructive conversations together, are calling on members of Congress, and making sure that our nation honors immigrants with human dignity and family unity. So I have a story to share with you that will inspire you, I'm sure. The forum has been calling on this recent story among one of our own forum family members. It reminds us of the work we do, even when it's hard, even when it's tiring. In the past couple of months, all of us have celebrated our own Andrea Castaneda-Lover's journey to citizenship. She's right over here and is going to be very mad that I'm pointing her out. For those of you that don't know Andrea yet, she lives in Houston, Texas, and she leads our business engagement and inclusion work there. She helps to connect employers with what they need to support their own employees with becoming citizens. So her journey began many years ago. Okay, not that many. She's very young. But when she was 5, her family came here from El Salvador, and she was able to stay because of temporary protected status. In September, she took her oath. And here's what she said. Becoming a U.S. citizen is not only a privilege, but it's also a responsibility that I take very seriously. It empowers me to advocate more effectively for those who share my own aspirations and dreams. I am committed to using my voice and experience to champion the needs and rights of immigrants, ensuring that we fully realize, recognize, and support their contributions and potential. Andrea's parents were dentists in El Salvador, and in the US, her mom is a dental assistant, and her dad is a director of a dental assistant program at a healthcare college. Despite their much-needed contributions to this country, to our community and our country, their future lacks permanence. They are still only protected by TPS. When I look at people like Andrea and her family and see the lives they built for themselves here and the contributions they are making to their communities, I know that continuing the work towards solutions is our only way forward. And the thing is, there are solutions. There are many people who will be telling us today, including some in just a few moments, who have been having tough conversations to hone in on the targeted ways that we can transform our immigration system. The work we do to support those solutions is grounded in conversation and relationship, and that's why it's so important that you're in this room today, and I don't take it lightly. Thank you for traveling a week later to be here and in conversation and relationship. That's how we will move this forward, and that's how we will move our elected officials who will bring the conversation to the forefront. Americans want these targeted solutions. Also in that polling from August, we learned 76% of registered voters expressed support for Republicans and Democrats working together on targeted border and immigration solutions. That's over 70% self-identified conservatives and Republicans. That level of support isn't new, and it wouldn't shock any of you here in this room. It's one reason we've been fortunate to work alongside 2 incredible congressmen, Representative Tom Suozzi of New York's 3rd District and Representative Morgan Luttrell of Texas's 8th, who are bringing leaders to the table even now. This past summer, Congressman Suozzi and Luttrell announced that they were creating a coalition to craft urgent border security, asylum, and legal immigration reforms. These reforms will benefit all of America. These 2 leaders understand that native-born Americans and newcomers are seeking to build their life here together, and they deserve a system that is effective and strengthens our country. If Congressman Suozzi and Luttrell and their colleagues have the courage to continue the work they've begun, and so let us fortify you today, and if they have the ability to come to the table and to hash out solutions and not let their differences derail them and derail us, I know we can create the future that we will be proud of. So with that, I am very excited to introduce you to a true champion, our first honoree for this year's Courage to Lead Award, Congressman Tom Suozzi of New York's 3rd Congressional District.
Well, good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much, Jenny. Thank you for all your good work. Thank you to all of you for all of your great work. Things don't always go as planned. I was planning on coming here at 8:30 this morning, but I was on my way over. This is a great analogy for what we're going through right now. So on my way over here, and all of a sudden the traffic was crazy. There were lights and sirens everywhere, and it turns out Donald Trump is across the street. So sometimes there's some chaos and lights flashing, but I knew I would get here. I knew I'd arrive at my destination. I just have to keep on going, change a few things along the way in our route, and we would get to our final destination point. I just won my election. Donald Trump won my seat by 19,000 votes, and I won by 9,000 votes. And one of the reasons that I won is because I talked to people about what they care about. I listened to what the people were saying, and I responded to them. And one of the big issues they were talking about is the border and the desire for us to address the issue in a bipartisan way. And that's one of the things I've been doing, working together with all of you for quite some time now, as we build this coalition using your terminology, business, badges, and the Bible, and trying to build a coalition to try and get other members of Congress to do what they know is right, which is to do what the people are asking them to do, which is to secure the border, which is to fix the broken asylum system, and to treat people like human beings by legalizing, modernizing some of our legal immigration system so that we can protect DACA recipients, we can protect TPS recipients, so we can do our Farm Worker Modernization Act, so we can address the Afghan Readjustment Act, so we can help healthcare workers. Let's do the work that we know needs to be done, that there's been so much bipartisan work for such a long period of time, but it never got over the finish line. Now, how do we get it over the finish line? We get it over the finish line by getting you and more of you involved to hold your elected officials accountable. We use the crisis that many people see right now and the threats of deportation that scare so many people in the business, badges, and Bible community as a vehicle to say, hey, the people want a solution. You don't like that solution. What are you going to do to make a deal to actually get something done? Use the urgency of now, use the situation that we're faced with, and make a deal. Let's get something done. So I'm committed to doing that, and I'm so fortunate to have a partner in Morgan Luttrell, who I purposely sought out. I was the vice chairman of the Problem Solvers Caucus, 25 Democrats, 25 Republicans who met regularly to try and find common ground to move things forward. And we got a lot of big things done. But I didn't look for a problem solver member of that caucus as my partner in this effort. I looked for someone who I saw as being a conservative Republican who understood this issue, who has a heart, who has a brain, and who wants to actually get something done. And if we could get him to help us in this effort, he's not the type of guy that'll be pushed around by other people because he believes in what he believes, and he's not going to be easily intimidated by others. As a former Navy SEAL, elected in his own right, facing a tough primary when he first ran, he knows what he knows, and he knows what he wants to do. And I'm excited to work with him to try and move our agenda, our common agenda, forward. So, listen, my father was born in Italy, came to the United States as a young boy. When I look at America, when I think of America, I think of my family experience. I define my whole family experience, my life experience, my American experience through immigration. And it kills me that this has become such a polarizing issue that is perceived by so many in our country, immigration, as being a negative, as opposed to this glorious, wonderful, positive thing that makes America one of the most unique place on earth. And we have such an obligation to look past our differences to try and find common ground. Every problem we face in our country is complicated. Nothing is simple. Anybody who says, why don't you just, doesn't know what they're talking about. And to find solutions in a polarized environment, you need people of goodwill who are willing to sit down across from each other and say, well, I think this. I say, well, I think that. Well, how about this? Well, how about that? Well, how about this? How about that? And try and find a place where you can find common ground to move forward. Not a place where we demonize each other, not a place where we're afraid of each other even, not a place of fear and anger, but a place of trying to genuinely seek common ground to move forward, to try and make our lives and the lives of all people better. That's the only reason to be in public life, the only reason to do it. And, you know, I think of when I walk in this room and I see all of you, and I know how many people you represent way beyond this room, it's an awesome responsibility. And we can't let petty politics get in the way of doing what we have an obligation to do, which is to solve problems and try and make people's lives better. So a big problem in politics today is courage. It's always been a problem. John F. Kennedy wrote a book after 175 years of American history called Profiles in Courage. There were only 8 people in that book. So sometimes standing up to your base and having the courage to lead, to try and find that common ground, requires people to do what they know is right, but take some flack along the way. And I commit to all of you that I'm willing to take the flack. I'm willing to keep on fighting in partnership with my partner and friend, Morgan Luttrell. And I want to thank you to have the courage as well, because the only way this will get done, the only way, is by having outside groups, business, badges, and the Bible, and a whole bunch of others, to come together and advocate from the outside so that we can prop up the members of Congress we need to have the courage to lead. Thanks very much, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Congressman. Our next honoree is the wonderful partner Republican from Texas that he was just speaking about. He also understands the need for pragmatic solutions. The congressman was pulled into something pretty important today. You just heard about it across the street. There will be Republican leadership decisions and conversations. But we are so grateful to have a key member from his team, Jacqueline Olvera, to accept on his behalf. So please join me in welcoming Jacqueline.
Good morning, everybody. As I look across this room, I've had the great honor and privilege of getting to meet some of you over the last couple of months, right? Whether here in DC or in the Congressman's district. I just want to say thank you so much to all of you for all of your hard work, right? It's been very interesting to hear a lot of, the various perspectives on the issue, whether immigration or border security, right? Especially as it affects the great state of Texas. I know Congressman Luttrell has enjoyed, getting to hear a lot of your perspectives on the issue, right? I think now, we have an opportunity to genuinely work together to find common ground. I know that over the last couple of days, we've heard certain narratives, right? But I think that regardless of that, we can find common ground and generally work together to secure our border. And not only that, but look into immigration reform and find that bipartisan ground. I don't think that conversation, for lack of a better word, is dead. I think that we can genuinely, come together and find common ground. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of you. And I know Congressman Luttrell really wanted to be here, but unfortunately had an engagement. But no, thank you so much to all of you.
Thank you, Jacqueline and Congressman Luttrell. And a big thanks to Congressman Suozzi and Luttrell for doing this difficult work on Capitol Hill. It is truly it truly takes courage to show that you continue to champion these important conversations and solutions, and it inspires us, and it definitely draws on the namesake of the award. And so we're happy to present these folks as the 2024 Courage to Lead Award recipients. Let's have one last round of applause.